Hey there, I'm Rodrigo from Digitech Zone, and today we have in the Digitech Zone studios the Mixon 4 from Reloop, the very first 4-channel controller for Serato DJ and also for iOS and Android devices running DJ Pro from Algorithm. So it's the first of its kind in that sense that it comes with support for all those platforms and for iPads with a nice big iPad slot right here on top of the controller, and you can fit a big iPad Pro in there. So a 12.9-inch iPad Pro is fittable in this controller, so you can use it with any iPad size, but up to the biggest size available on the market today, which is nice because the big iPad gives you a large display just in front of you, much like you have when you play with CDJs and you have everything right in front of you. So that's very good. We are testing it with a standard iPad size in this case, so not with the big one, but we also are looking at the Mixon 4 with Serato DJ software that is supported by the controller and its various plugins like Pitch in Time that you can use to do pitch play stuff, and the Serato DJ software that you have to pay separately. It doesn't come with the controller, and the Pitch in Time plugin that also needs to be bought separate. So every software, Algorithm, DJ Pro is not included either. So let's look at the Mixon 4. As I said, it's a 4-channel controller. It has big jog wheels, aluminium jog wheels, much in the tradition of Reloop that they include in almost every controller they make nowadays. Very nice jog wheels, 4 channels of control. The typical Serato setup for a 4-channel Serato DJ controller with knobs to control 3 effects at the same time, with a pitch fader, which is not a really big sized pitch fader. That could be better, but it's still a very usable size for a pitch fader, so it will work pretty well. You have your buttons for all the nice features that you can use, like the slip, the lock and the sync. You have your transfer control and your 4-channel controller with your 4-line faders. Something special around the filters that I will explain later, and a very loose, nice crossfader. I like it very much, this crossfader. The line faders are loose as well. Those could be a little bit tighter in my opinion, but they are fine. But the build quality is pretty good. It's a plastic controller with plastic knobs. The jog wheels are very fine in material. It's like kind of aluminium. The faceplate is metal. It's a metal faceplate, so that's good quality. Overall, it feels solid, but it doesn't really feel like a real professional controller, which it isn't either. At the price range that it is, around $700. You can check prices also below in the links. So it feels a good consumer, a really good consumer controller. I would even say semi-pro, but it's not something that you would fit in a professional DJ booth. But then again, that's not a shame, because it's not the public that this controller is trying to reach in any case. It's the serious amateur, even possibly the mobile DJ, but although that there are a few constraints if you're a mobile DJ, we'll come to those later. But anyway, the serious home DJ or the occasional party DJ will be quite happy with this controller, and I think the build quality is good enough to justify a purchase if you're a serious user, a serious DJ. So let's dive into the details of this controller. Let's see what it can do, and let's do a few demos and a few examples of how it works. So we'll start with the decks as always. As I said, I will first look at it with Serato DJ, and then we'll look at it with the iPad. So we'll do a few things with each and try to focus on what is specific with each solution, because not everything works with everything here. Let's see what works with Serato DJ. The workflow is very Serato DJ, so the main use case that Reloop has in mind here is definitely linked to a computer. At least if you want to use all the features of this controller in the best possible way, you need to use it with Serato DJ. So for example, with Serato DJ, you have access to the 3 banks of effects at the same time, and you can have your effects activated like pretty much any other controller. You can chain them, you can change the beats. So that's nothing special right here. That's the effects section when using Serato DJ. You have, of course, your pitch fader. That is not, it's not the most professional pitch fader. It's not a full resolution pitch fader, but it does its job pretty well. It's set to 8% difference by default, but you can change that in the software. So yeah, it's a good pitch fader. On the side here, next to the jogwheel, we have a few buttons that serve specific purposes. For example, the slip mode, as you know it already if you saw previous reviews. If you have slip mode activated, you will be able to do stuff with your jogwheel or manipulate the track without the track skipping. And then we have two buttons for lock mechanism, so you can lock your key and you can also sync keys between tracks. So if I have two tracks loaded up, I can sync. You can see that the sync button, the sync is now activated and my keys are synced on both tracks. You can see that it actually changes the key on the screen, and it will try to match the key of the other track. Under the sync button you also have a sensor button, so if you press shift, the track is playing, and you press shift, you actually do the backwards thing, which is also a nice effect. Sensor or reverse, depends, every manufacturer calls it differently. Then something I really like is the loop section. So the loop section is pretty cool in my opinion because it features a loop encoder. I love loop encoders rather than buttons because it's very easy to change and to manipulate the size of your cue. And additionally, they incorporated an indicator on which size of loop you are. It's pretty small, so if you don't see very well, like me, I'm an older guy, I have to go closer to see exactly in which loop size I am. But the easy thing is that it saves you a check on the computer screen. You can see it from the controller. So when it's pinking, you're under one beat, so you're 116, 1/8, 1/4. So 132 of a beat, 116, 1/8, 1/4, half a beat, 1 beat, 2 beat, and so forth. So you can really see it from the screen, from the controller, in which beat size you are. I like this. I wish that more manufacturers would approach loop sections on DJ controllers like this. The Tractor S4 has the same approach, and that's one of the things I really love about it, because you loop a lot when you're playing out, when you're doing your mixes, and the second that you have to look at the screen, it might distract you, and seeing it on the controller really helps you to not make mistakes and engage a loop that is too small, for example. It's cool. Then you have some parameter keys, like always, that help you to change different parameters when you are using the performance mode. You have your sync, big sync button, your cue, play, that are well lit, so it's pretty clear what's happening there when you're using those buttons. And you have your performance pads. Before we go to the performance pads, let's quickly look at the jogwheel. It's a nice jogwheel. One thing I like less, I love the feeling of the jogwheel, and it's very responsive, very nice to the touch. Works well for spin backs, but where it works a little bit less is when you're nudging, because it's so flat. If you're used to nudge with 2 fingers on the most Pioneer DJ controllers, you can use almost 2 fingers. You risk to touch the platter, and if you touch the platter, of course, that can be wrong. So I use nudging a lot when I'm playing, and with this jogwheel it's a little bit more difficult because it's so flat. So I prefer thicker jogwheels, but yeah, that's my personal preference. While we're on the negatives, the other thing I don't like here is it's very stupid, you may say, but this little blue center indicator. Here it's fine. I can see it in the dark very clearly, and I can, it's very easy to see what's going on. But the blue is hard to detect, and seeing where you are with your effect is quite important, because if you're applying an effect, where your knob is important when you activate your effect knob. You might want to activate it when it's there and bring it gradually up. See? So that's, yeah. That's a bit of a miscalculation in the design. I wish they would have made, kept the same color scheme, or just lit them, with a small little LED. That's so much easier, and it just helps a DJ to see critical information in darker environments. So, well, that's just a little critique. So the jogwheels and the color scheme on the knobs is maybe not really super well chosen. Apart from that, I think the jogwheels are great. I think they work great. They're well illuminated, and the kind of effect around them is subtle. You don't really notice it, but it's well done. So then for the performance part, the typical stuff is there. So the hot cues, you can set them on the fly, of course. The pads are big, are sturdy, they response well. High quality pads. You have the typical Serato DJ stuff, loop roll, sampler, slicer. I'm not going to go through everything again, I've done that in previous reviews. So then you have the pitch play mode, which is pretty nice and allows you to change between different keys from a specific hot cue. For example, I have here this song, you know it. If I press the sampler twice, I go into pitch play mode, and then and so on and so on. Very nice feature to play around with, and very creative feature also that allows you to change the music, change the tracks, change your intros to your tracks, and do cool stuff. So very nice. That's pitch play. Apart from that, you have the usual stuff. As I said, the hot cues, the loop roll, access to the sampler, the slicer, and so on and so on. So those are the performance features of the Mixon 4 on Serato DJ, and they work pretty fine. On the mixer side, it's a 4-channel mixer, high, mid and low EQ, full kill EQ, really cool. Small view meters, but it's workable. And then you have also something called filter and FX. So it means that when you activate a filter, it automatically calls M1, and M1 is my first effect. And it sounds like this. So I apply an echo and a filter at the same time. Pretty cool. You have the load buttons, the Q button. I don't like the load and the Q next to each other. It's dangerous. So design wise, I prefer the load on top. and the Q here, you might, by accident press load instead of Q. It's a bit of a strange design choice, but there it is, it's there. You have your line faders, as I said, your faders start A through and B, and your crossfader. And a big selection button in the middle with long VU meters for your master channel, sampler volume, which is pretty nice, always good to be able to change the volume of your samples on the fly, headphone, Q mix and Q volume, booth, monitor, volume, and your master. That's how the Mixon 4 works with Serato DJ. Let's plug in our iPad now and see what it does there. When I plug in the iPad, automatically I go to the iPad, and in the iPad, using the iPad, I just, it's fairly easy. My selection knob, my encoder will allow me to select a track. Very, very easy. I load the track. Yeah, it's set to start immediately and load. You can change it, of course. And again, I have access to my hot cues. I can create hot cues on the fly. I have access to loop rolls. I have access to the slider. I change the parameter. Pitch and play will not work when you're using an iPad. I will almost say, of course, therefore it needs to be with Serato. Your loop encoder works fine, everything is perfectly mapped. The effects work. Of course, that's all mapped as it should. Your filter FX works as well. Not full kill your EQs here. And apart from that, slip mode as well. I don't know if the key lock works. Check it. Seems to work. Yeah, seems to work. Yeah. So stuff like key lock, key sync, the performance parts, everything works fine on the iPad, the iOS. I haven't tested the Android version, but everything works fine on the iOS as well. So pretty flexible setup. You can use your Serato, you can switch to the iPad. It's pretty handy if you have that when you're doing gigs. If your computer fails for any reason and you have your iPad with you, boom, you just quickly plug in the cable and you're good to go. So that's a nice feature, especially for DJs that play live and want to have backup options. So you don't have an aux channel on this machine, on this controller, so your iPad, or the fact that it can connect to two different types of computers and sound sources is kind of a backup as such. So that's good. What is a more negative point here is that we'll see that when we look at the backside of the Mixon 4. On the front side we have double headphone jack, and we have the mic microphone input with the volume regulator. That's it on the front, so a single mic input routed directly through the mixer to go to the speakers. And then on the back side we have the power, we have the USB and the iPad connector cable, we have the master out and the booth out, which is TRS, and we have a master out in XLR. So output wise it's well equipped, but it's not a 4-channel hardware mixer, as you can see, so there are no inputs for this controller. So although you can connect the iPad, you cannot connect any other external sources with it. For me it's a bit of a missed opportunity not to make this hardware mixer, even if that would bump up the price a little bit, because if it's a hardware mixer you can connect external sources and it makes it much more flexible for mobile DJs and much more interesting for mobile DJs. So I wish Reloop in the future would come out with a pro version of this controller with the needed inputs and outputs, more control for your mic output so that you can fine-tune your mic sound, and some ergonomical improvements such as the load buttons separated from the cue buttons, for example, and a better design, so a clearer design for those knobs on the effect controls. Apart from that, excellent controller. I still really recommend it if you don't mind the outputs and those small ergonomic misses, in my opinion. If you don't mind that, for $700 you have a great 4-channel Serato DJ controller with iPad dock. You do need to buy the software separately, but you do have a great piece of machinery, solidly built, qualitatively built, and recommended by DJ Tech Zone. I hope you like the review. I hope you will like our YouTube channel, and that you will like also the review, and that you subscribe to us and so that you can get notified when we put up new videos, because we will be putting a lot of new videos in the future. So make sure to check back with us as we put up new content and help us grow DJ Tech Zone. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.